Yeah, so next up is our keynote, and I'll just read a little introduction for him, and then I'll help him get set up on his computer. So our keynote speaker, we met him at our first responder design sessions that we held with Innovate Raleigh this end of the summer. And he had very thoughtful and insightful and comments, as well as from his colleagues in the region. And so those comments helped inform a few of our teams who participated in the early rounds of this open data competition. So Chief Alvarez is from the Fayetteville Fire Department, and he's been there for about 23 years. And he's currently the Assistant Chief of Strategic Planning. He has a BS in Emergency and Disaster Management from Western Carolina University. He's a Hazmat specialist, and previously he was a heavy rescue captain. So please help me welcome Chief Alvarez.
All right. Well, good evening. How's everybody doing? Awesome presentations, right? All right. Just doing. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. A lot of great presentations. My mind was turning while I was sitting here listening to the different pitches. Like she spoke of, I've been in the fire service for about 25 years, 23 years with the City of Fayetteville Fire Department. I rose through the ranks and had a lucky opportunity to become a member of the Planning and Research Division that was fairly new to our department. Thank you, man. Pretty much my chief said, hey, give you the reins, take us to the next level. That's good to hear from a boss, right? Take us to the next level. I looked at my partner and said, we got to build up our team. Let's watch YouTube videos. So we had zero technology experience, zero technology anything. We came from heavy rescue background, disaster background. So we said, hey, how can we take our fire department and move forward and make an impact not only in our fire department, but in our community, our customers, you. So we said, okay, so first of all, we had to educate ourselves. We wanted to bridge the gap between the private sector, the military, Fort Bragg is our neighbor, our city management team, our county managers, bring everybody together because knowledge is power, right? We wanted to have one big platform that we can all know what's going on. Because in the case of a disaster, we need to know. So we had limitations. One, we had to learn GIS. YouTube and Google are great. So my partner in crime took it upon himself to learn GIS on the fly. His name's Jason Hathcock, if you ever heard that name. Great individual. Well, guess what? SQL, somebody kept saying, what's SQL? I don't know, let's Google it. So we talked to our IT representative, we sat down with SQL and learned SQL. We started coding and doing all this fancy stuff. Very, very interesting. We learned the back end of our record management system because again, data. So we started realizing this is a lot of good stuff, a lot of good information, a lot of information we can get from our GIS counterparts in the county, in our water department, the police department. So now we envisioned and we had this big eye-opening experience. What happens if we put it together? But the first thing that we realized was our quality of our data. So we instituted policies and procedures. The first thing we had to do was implement a policy procedure and operations manual, how to teach our folks how to properly enter a fire report or incident report. Because if they don't know how to do that, data in, what is it, junk in, garbage out, right, okay. So we have a 3-layer process of quality control within our fire departments. The first step is our company officers. Second step is our battalion chiefs. The third step, if it meets certain qualification, it flags it, automated report through the SQL server, yes, and shoots it out to the battalion chief saying, hey, this report's past due for 3 days, you need to QC it. If they don't do it, our deputy chief gets involved. Makes sense, right? Now we're having good quality data. We export on a monthly basis to FEMA. So not only is our data open locally, it's also open nationally to do comparisons between other departments, other like departments. Got your interest? Pretty deep? Okay, so again, we learned all this on our own. We took our department to another level. We became accredited through CIPSI. We got a class 1 ISO, so we noticed the power of data. We started collaborating with the Greensboro fire folks, the Raleigh fire folks, Wilmington, the Jacksonvilles, and guess what? We're doing the same thing. So we started collaborating together and feeding off each other. Some of the things that we noticed were we can want the moon. We can want all this information, but if we don't have our IT support, you, the engineers, the backbone, the network security folks, to help us and drive us in the right direction, we can't get there. Okay? So with all that said, what are some of the challenges and opportunities that we've realized locally and throughout the state and even nationally? Live vehicle telemetry. One of our vendors, Pierce Manufacturing, has telemetry, I think just came out this year, that monitors our fire trucks. When was the last time some of you have been in a fire truck? Just think about that for a minute. Was it in elementary school, middle school, big metal truck, a lot of heavy stuff? That's it? Has anybody been in one recently? Pretty different? Yes, mobile computers, radios, sensors. It's amazing. We have a command dash terminal. They can tell you how much fuel you have, how much this, how hot the cold the water is, everything. So when I talked to the engineer from Pierce, I said, that's great. You have vehicle telemetry, but it's contained within the apparatus. As a logistics chief, as a fleet manager, or as an organization, how can I cut cost on this vehicle if it's 4 days late? Who likes to get a rental car when a car breaks? How many of us drive with our check engine light on? Do you think our fire folks do the same thing? Yes. So how do we want that instead of, okay, the fire truck pulls into the fire station, it hooks to Wi-Fi, and then it maybe shoots an email out. Let's make it live. Why not? We could do it. Your Pepsi machines and the beer people, you could do that live. Why not fire trucks, right? So there are companies in this area that offer that. I think GEICO, sort of, State Farm. They monitor your driving habits. You plug it something in, right? Again, why not fire trucks? Would you believe fire trucks didn't have any rollover protection? Seatbelts were probably not mandatory until a couple years ago. Interesting. So, live vehicle telemetry. I want to be able to sit at my desk or on one of these fancy dancy monitors and have an alert. Some of you probably have those in your IT fields, right? Uh-oh, server's down. Blink, blink, blink. Same thing. Blink, blink, blink. Fire truck, check engine lights on. What's wrong with it? Code 555. What is that? I have water in my diesel. City management's happy because I just saved them $50,000. Because all we got to do is go drain the fuel. We're back in business, minimizing downtime to our customers, you. We're almost there. Need some help. Okay? Almost there. What's another component of this? Cost. Okay? We're not streaming video. We're just data packets, right? Just data packets. Live personnel accountability. If an incident happens right now, how many people do we have in this room? You don't know. You got to guess. Imagine if we were all firefighters in this building and something happens. We get lost, we get trapped. Where are we? Who's where? Who's what? Okay? We had the X, you know, the whole Z axis and Y axis and all that good stuff. We were very, very close on getting that Z axis. Very, very close. It's out there, right? Some of the engineers, is it out there? It's out there. We do have AVLs, right? We have them all probably on your corporate vehicles. Tells you where you're at. We have the same thing on our fire trucks. We have preemption on our fire trucks. We can do a geofence around our fire stations, auto arrive, auto en route. So our company officers don't even have to worry about keying a mic or pushing a button. We have that. But again, I can't get there. My people don't get there, right? Live personnel accountability. I heard the word telemetry earlier. We were on the road. We were in negotiations and talks of demoing a smart shirt for our firefighters. They could read everything from their core temp to their pulse rate, live EKG, all that good stuff. How many of us are wearing Fitbits? It's achievable, isn't it? Now imagine that on your firefighters. Enter into structure. I can tell you where you're at, what floor you're on, and how well you're doing. Or, hey, touch Bob on the shoulder, tell him to come on downstairs. Okay? You say, well, that's great. How about your equipment? Yes. We have a representative here that knows what I'm talking about. It's Bluetooth capable, correct? Some of your air packs are Bluetooth capable. Goes back to communications. So we think about all that entwined into one solid product. Improve workflow for every task, inventories, and unit status. Check this out. You're gonna like this. The top of the truck is not ours. It's similar to ours. Bottom truck's ours. How long do you think it takes our employee to inventory to make sure none of that stuff is gone? A while. So as a business owner, right? So let's look at this as a business. Are you willing to invest in an employee to take 2 hours every day to inventory that piece of equipment? While running calls, while being available, while making sure all the reports are put in. You see where I'm going with this, right? So the little world of Internet of Things and the little devices, the little smart devices that we can place on brackets, compartment doors, seals, anything like that, communicating back to the smart fire truck that gives you not only your status of your vehicle, but also the status of your equipment. I do not like to go in front of city management and ask them for another $12,000 to, I don't know, replace the thermal imager that got lost. I don't want to be that guy. I'm sorry. I don't like that. Or I don't know where that fan's at. I have no idea where that radio's at. I have no idea. The other shift lost it, right? So the top picture there is a traditional picture of a heavy rescue truck. I know there were some county managers here, city council member as well. So what are we looking at, $600,000 on a yearly budget? Maybe, just a truck, no equipment. I think that's a pretty good investment. So something that communicates with the smart fire truck, that has better accountability, that all ties into a working dashboard. The bottom truck is one of our USAR components. This system has to work not only internally, it also has to work while being deployed during natural disasters. How neat would that be if you were part of the logistics task force and every time someone came to you, you checked the information in and out, equipment in and out, and that truck was reading every time that piece of equipment was used for FEMA documentation for reimbursement. So, but that inventory has to be adaptable to different configurations. What I call an A.A.S, someone else might call something else. Thermal imager might be a TIC. So it has to be able to be configured. Expandable based on need and terminology. You can see the difference of equipment and the size of equipment. Make sense? All right. None of that works without connectivity. I'm sure most of you know about the 700 megahertz band or FirstNet. We're aware of that, right? First responder network that's dedicated solely to first responders. We don't have to compete with other consumers over cell signals or data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Believe it or not, Fayetteville Fire Department, if Red was here, he'll correct me, I think we were the only one in North Carolina to have FirstNet running small cell sites within our city. It's fast, it's good, and it's awesome. Unfortunately, we got pulled from the FCC, pulled our license because of the contract with AT&T. So we're exploring other options now. So pretty much a private area network. But with that said, the difference between our data and the open data is some of our data has to be secured. Make sense? Okay. So with security and connectivity, what do we need? We need a system that's reliable, timely, accurate, relevance. Is this something familiar? Like Six Sigma stuff? Yes. Guess what? We went to Six Sigma school too. We did all that too. Yeah, our chief was like, what's that? We're going to karate class, chief. No problem. Go ahead. So adaptation and to what's next. We were able to spike up 5G, believe it or not, using our network. It was, I think we got up to like 20 up on just regular cell. We got rid of our mobile radios and started using cell phones. Because believe it or not, your cell phone, I mean, we were using it as a regular radio. So when city management was looking at $6,000 portable radios, we said we could do the same thing with a $200 phone if the connectivity was there, if the 700 megahertz was there, if the world was perfect, we can do it cheaper. So what does that entail? What happens when we have a natural disaster? Do we still have connectivity? Cell towers? Backups what? Satellite? Maybe? So keep all that in mind. The truck and the systems still need to communicate. It's okay if they don't communicate out during the disasters, because guess what we can do internally? We can set up our own small cell sites and communicate within 2.5 miles. So we built one of those in-house as well. I think Mr. Grasso from the state's probably seen it. Probably less than $3,000, we can communicate remotely back home. So with no sat. So it's pretty neat. So courtesy of Porsche, any Porsche owners in the room, thank you. On the left is what we see now. Plain Jane, windshield, nothing fancy. On bottom, a CF33, MCT, about $5,000. But what's the future look like? Imagine if we have that information coming from that smart fire truck, touchscreen, or whatever. We have it in our cars, folks. We have it. Dictating to that driver where he or she needs to go. Making it safe for the driver, making it safer for everybody in the apparatus. So what does the future hold? The future is up to you. The people in the audience, developers, the people that present. What kind of ideas? Come see us. Come talk to us. Things have changed. We understand that there's limitations in budgets with servers and accessibilities. We get that. We love Power Pivot, if you've ever heard of that. We built our own dashboard, a live dashboard using Power Pivot. We don't even hit refresh. It refreshes itself to monitor our RMS. So where there's a will, there's a way, but we can't do it without you. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to come speak. Hopefully I've got some wheels turning on where we're going with this. And I can't reiterate that enough. I thank you so much for letting me come. If you have any questions, I'll be around. Or if we could take some questions now, because I guess the judges haven't come back yet. I can keep talking. Does anybody have any questions? Somebody's got to ask a question. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. What data needs to be held secure? Because I know it's like power plants and all. You don't want the location. You wouldn't want the location of every emergency response vehicle available to everybody, would you?
Correct. So the question was what type of information that we want available. Any of our response information is public record. Any of it. What's not public record is like your private medical information. It's okay for everybody in the room to know you had a fire at your house. They turn on TV, they could see it. Matter of fact, if you go to our website under 24-hour past response report, we have an automated SQL, report automating to our website. So we don't get a bunch of calls from the newspaper going, where was your house fire last night? Where was this? Where was that? It's just detailed right there. They can look it up themselves. Can we do it in real time? Well, yeah, we could. No. And correct. So it's a good question. We don't have our AVL technology open sourced for obvious reasons. But there's nothing saying you can't develop a product internally where we could sit behind a screen during a disaster and go, I have all the fire trucks here, I have all the solid waste trucks here, I have all the Parks and Recs vehicles here, I have the police department over here, internally in a secure environment. Especially if you have all the players from city management there with their unified command system, and they're able to say, hey, this pickup truck go here because fire needs you over here. And they're able to actually make those decisions real time. We wholeheartedly believe in data-driven decision making. But we started turning the table now and going, okay, what good is all this data? What are my outcomes? What if? What good is all this data? What's my outcome now? So we're starting to go down that road on outcome-based decision making as well. It's pretty deep. So good question. Anything else? Any questions? Just one more? One more? No? 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 I do have a question for the group. What do you think technology is in the fire service? Where do you think it's at? Like something you've seen on TV, where do you think we're at? Anybody seen Squad 51 back in the day? The TV show? I mean, where do you think we're at in the fire service? Because I'll tell you what, every time we do a survey, the fire department does great, right, in the surveys. Do you know your local fire department's response times to your address? No. Do you know what the #1 cause of fire in your neighborhood is? Your city, your county. Is that information valuable? Are the trends based on social, economic? Do you know those? Is it important to know? All that information we have. It's out there. Our GIS folks share it regularly. You have the census, you have this, you have that. Put it together with your fire responses, maybe your police responses and your crime. Now you have a big holistic picture of what's going on in your community. And that can be done with your support. Now imagine if you could do that through the whole state of North Carolina. The power that you have. So, yes, sir.
So on that last point, my sense is that longer term, certainly insurance industry would be interested in that and could potentially fund that. Have you explored that option?
I have 6 years for retirement. So, yes, we have to be careful because we have all this data to be a good steward of that data and make those decisions. It's pretty much like an ethical question. Do I want to help State Farm versus Allstate? Because if I help State Farm, I got to help everybody. So if it's open source, then everybody's on the same playing field. So for me specifically to reach out to a State Farm or Allstate to have those conversations, I won't do it. My team won't do it. We'd rather put it on an open source platform that someone develops so our lawmakers and our council members and our decision makers can make those decisions at the state level and make it fair for everyone. Yes, ma'am.
I guess you're kind of the second person from going to different third person from going to different conferences who is trying to build a system for the different fire departments or different emergency services to communicate with each other and share that information and also have their inventory and stuff like that available so they know what they're working with and where people are at. So I was wondering like how there seems to be maybe. Well, there was mention of, for one case where the volunteer firefighters weren't in on the system that everyone else was, so they were trying to have their own system. Is there kind of like maybe a lack of communication between the departments where? Is
there a lack of communication between departments? Yeah, of course. If you ever try to agree on something with 50 people in the room, it's kind of hard to make that happen. We partner up with, Fayetteville has IT partners with the Greensboros, with the Wilmingtons, in the fire side of the realm. We have tried to develop a North Carolina fire information technology group where we holistically look at what type of computers we use, what type of software we use, what type of CAD systems we use, what type of GIS platforms we use, whether it's whatever, and try to standardize our approach, at least in the big municipalities. Because what we found was a lot of the small departments don't have the resources that we have. So we don't have a problem reaching out to our county partners and going, hey, look what we developed. It works. It's great. You're welcome to come on board. And I think making that decision, it's more up here. But we offer that to our communities. Matter of fact, Cumberland County has the RMS system is one system. In other words, we're all on the same platform with our CAD and with our RMS to help some of that. But to agree on what color helmets we wear, yeah, good luck. Yes, sir.
I just want to comment about the use of data for the citizens, because I as a sitting member of the city council, and we're hiring a CIO in our town of Morrisville, and when that CIO is in place, I want to direct them on where the data sets are. But we're right now looking at building a new fire station where we don't know, and we see the presentations and studies, but there's nowhere we can go to know if I'm living in a neighborhood in Morrisville or Cary or wherever, what is the response time? From this neighborhood across the town, across from Morrisville Parkway, back to Morrisville Carpenter Road. And I keep explaining to my colleagues that it's that kind of data that can save lives. Yes. Because we could be making emotional decisions rather than decisions based on the data. And even I, as a citizen, could actually open up an app on my phone. If I opened up that data and I could say, okay, this is the response time, and working with Carrie and 911, we just got a 911 study. We're doing a fire study. But I still tell our staff that we're shooting in a blind spot, because the problem is, where do you aggregate that data? Where do you find the data? A year in a city budget goes like that, and the next thing you know, you're back at it again. And we'll spend, I've heard a little bit more, less expensive than what I've paid for fire trucks. I want that $600,000 fire truck, because I think we spent at least $1 million on some of ours. But anyway, I'd just like your feedback on that in terms of that data for the citizen, so that they know how long it would take to respond.
Well, I will welcome you at any time to come pay us a visit, and we'll show you all of our data on how we make those decisions internally. And all that's free of charge. We won't charge you anything, so that we can bring something back. Because I think seeing it will help the fire department. Oh, this is what they're doing. So let me tell you how we started. One is quality control of our data in our RMS, because all our times are captured in our RMS, okay? As well as our overages in the districts. So we write a SQL report or some type of algorithm to say, if any call that's over 5 minutes and 12 seconds from the first arriving unit, flag it. So it flags that call, it flags the address, we export all those calls on a monthly basis, we put in a GIS format. Now I can present my fire chief, these are where our overages are at on a monthly basis. This is yearly, this is a 5-year, this is 10 years. So that's how we provide that initially. Now, when the fire chief comes up to me and says, hey, we need a new fire station, where's our overages? I can go, chief, right here. These are our overages right here. Okay, where do we build the fire station? Well, chief, let me go ahead and plot a map, because GIS experts, you can drop a pin map and you can go 2.5 miles out using road miles, using your speed parameters, right? And guess what you just did? Now you created your lines, and now you know where to properly place that fire station. Chief doesn't like it when I find a piece of property and it's over $1 million. He's like, come on, and go across the street. But the placement is key. So making those decisions, informed decisions, we usually can prepare that for him. He's done, bless his heart, he usually does it. Hey, good people. I got a meeting at 4 o'clock. I need this, and it's 3 o'clock. So we provide that information, but we keep that information readily available and on hand, because we had that close relationship where I can go, chief, this corridor, the Ramsey Street corridor, we're getting ready to annex this. You might want to put a station here because it meets your 2.5 mile and a half for ISO and this, that, and the other. Also, what type of calls? Because the next question is, what kind of fire truck do we put in there? Do we put a ladder company? Do we put an engine company? Do we put a brush squad? Do we put an ambulance there as well? Let's look at their response times. Do we need to cohabitate with the medic units? So all that information is what we provide to our fire chief for the presentation. Does that help you out a little bit? All right.